Hey Kentucky, this is Mary Jo Perino. Tonight, Goose Givens joins me to preview the NBA draft and review Coach Cal's new contract now that it's been signed. Governor Matt Bevin still faces some GOP internal strife, and a Lexington pastor shares his church's struggle to deal with a potential scandal. All that and more is next on Hey Kentucky. Welcome into Hey Kentucky, presented by Wendy's. I'm Mary Jo Perino in for Matt Jones again. UK legend Jack Goose Givens is my co-host tonight. Legend just means old, right?
That's exactly right. You don't get to that until you get 50 or above. Right. You're automatically a legend.
That's when you become a legend.
That's
all right,
me.
Some future legends potentially. We begin by looking ahead to next Thursday's NBA draft, since Hey Kentucky will be on hiatus all next week. All three UK players who kept their names in the draft have been invited to the green room. PJ Washington, Tyler Hero, and Keldon Johnson will be there, along with Murray State sensation Ja Morant. Washington has been a projected lottery pick from the start, late in the lottery. The latest mock draft from Sports Illustrated has him going number 13 to the Miami Heat, where he would join ex-Cat Bam Adebayo. Hero has been moving up the boards, and SI believes he'll be drafted immediately following PJ, heading north to exchange Kentucky blue for Celtics green with the 14th pick. And SI says the Kentucky train will just keep rolling with the Pistons in the 15th spot, projecting them to select Keldon Johnson. Jack, all three of these guys will go in the first round.
Yes.
Who do you see as making the biggest impact right away, and who may have the longest career?
Well, so often it depends on what team you go to. Yeah. I mean, it's so difficult to tell, and it's if you go to a team that has a really big need for your position, then you have a good opportunity. I don't like to look at that. What I like to look at is, who do I think of these guys are going to be around the longest? PJ made a big jump, and he'll continue to get better at that small forward spot. Keldon is an athlete. He'll play a lot of minutes, but I think Hero will be the one, because he is a shooter. He will be the one who stays around the longest in the league, and I think the Celtics are a perfect place for him. They need perimeter shooters to kind of spread the floor, and he'll fit in there very, very well.
There's always going to be a spot for a shooter, and I think this year, collegiately, he showed he can play some defense too. I think that might have been a knock on him early, but Tyler showed he can defend.
It's interesting because what we found out, Tyler came in, he was a shooter. That was what he was known for. What we found out was that he's a better player,
yes,
even than he is shooter. That means he's an athlete, he runs, he defends, all those things that make the great players great. He has an opportunity to do that.
All right. Staying with basketball, Coach Cal has officially signed the contract extension that we first learned about after the season ended. The 10-year, $86 million deal includes some significant changes from his previous one. After 6 years, he has the option to step down as coach and become special assistant to the athletics director. And Cal now must let the AD know of any job offers or requests for meetings or discussions before speaking with prospective employers. Even as Calipari signs this huge deal, some say he doesn't get his due. ESPN's Myron Metcalf says Cal is in his own special category of underappreciated, because he's one of those coaches who's won so many games, but they still kind of knock on him because he gets so many talented guys. Goose, what do you think of the contract? It's nothing new, but I mean, he gets taken for granted a little bit.
Well, he really does, Mary Jo, and I'm so glad this article about him being underappreciated came from a national source.
Yes.
It wasn't one of our local writers who felt like they might have an obligation to say great things. This is a national media guy who follows teams all around the country, who sees the young guys, the old guys, as far as coaches are concerned. It was one of those. And he says Coach Cal is underappreciated. I agree with him 100%. I like the contract. I would love to have just a couple of years of that, as I am in that legends category.
Yeah. Why don't we give you a lifetime legend? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's great for him. The fact that he'll be connected with the university for a long, long time, even after he coaches, is really special.
It will not stop other teams from reaching out to him, though.
That's always going to happen, both in college and the NBA. I think his reputation speaks for itself, his ability to develop players and get them better. Of course, he's a great recruiter. All of those qualities are what teams are looking for on both levels.
All right, elsewhere in college basketball, just when you started to forget the hoop scandal, it comes roaring back. CBS Sports reported this week that at least 6 Division I programs will be notified of Level 1 violations this summer. One NCAA official says 2 high-profile programs will receive notices of allegations by early July. The remaining 4 will be rolled out later in the summer in what's described as a wave of NCAA investigations meant to clean up major college basketball. At least 20 schools were mentioned in the FBI's probe into college hoops, but it has been reported that Kansas, Arizona, and Louisville were under NCAA investigation. LSU also seems like a likely candidate after Coach Will Wade was caught on a wiretap discussing an offer for Javonte Smart. But Jack, LSU, Will Wade is back coaching. I just don't know what's going to happen with that. Arizona's got a coach that's going to jail. And Sean Miller all but made it sound like goodbye at the end of the season. So what do you make of this? Do you think it cleans things up?
Not a little bit, I think that alone would clear it up. I mean, I think the thing that scares me the most, if I were one of those schools, the thing that scares me the most about this is that all of those schools named continued to do their thing. They kept coaches in place. They kind of looked at the NCAA and said, what are you going to do to me?
Yeah.
I think the NCAA is going to want to make some examples out of these schools and others. And that's what's really scary about that. Now, I like what Louisville did. They kind of self-imposed, but in the long run, they stepped right back in the fire. So I don't think it's going to matter at all.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens because it is a lot. All right, turning to politics. Governor Bevin continues to endure troubled waters within his own party as he campaigns for re-election in the fall. A self-described moderate Kentucky Republican has created a Facebook page in support of Bevin's Democratic challenger, Andy Beshear. Meanwhile, we've learned that the deputy for Lieutenant Governor Janine Hampton was investigating another staffer's firing when she herself was dismissed. Adrienne Southworth says she requested information about who the governor had designated as the person who could fire members of Hampton's staff, and she later learned she'd been terminated. Now, I think we kind of saw an inkling of this in the primary when he barely got over 50% of the votes.
Well, there's a lot of trouble within the Republican Party. There's no question about that. And Bevin has ruffled feathers with the way he has done things in both parties. I mean, of course, the Democrats are going to be against him, but when you start having trouble within your own party, that's when the concern comes. I thought Janine Hampton was really good for his ticket. Gave him a different view and different people looking at him, but once he decided to run without her, I think that hurt. And then all of a sudden she's asking for prayer for all of these dark forces within his administration. It just makes you think something's going on. I don't know all of it, and I like Bevin, but I'd like to be a fly on the wall to just kind of hear what's going on there. Behind closed doors.
Right. Well, we may never know. And I don't want to be a fly on the wall. I don't want to know how the sausage is made sometimes. All right. Up next on Hey Kentucky, I sit down and go one-on-one with a Lexington pastor whose church decided to address a scandal head-on. Robert Cunningham with Tate's Creek Presbyterian opens up about the search for victims after they learned about transgressions by a former youth minister. Stay with us.